Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. And we'll have a short presentation. And as you're in chat, always remember, be respectful of the families, mods, and each other. And as we have our presentation, Mrs. Steve will be keeping up with chat. And if you have a question about the topic, absolutely put it in there and she will get them organized. And after presentation, I'll answer as many as I can. And we always thank everyone for being here and supporting us. It means a lot to us as we go out and work with the cold case families that have contacted us, and we go out and look at some of these other cases. But with that being said, we'll get started here. Of course, tonight we're going to be talking about DeOrr Kunz, who was last seen July the 10th of 2015. So now we're looking at it a little over 8 years, and he went on a camping trip, as we'll discuss and look at this. If you have any information on this case at all, absolutely make sure law enforcement has all that information, regardless if you think it's out there or not, and whatever your information is. Like I said, law enforcement needs to have it, and there's a contact number. You can either call 911 or the 1-800-843-5678 for the missing and exploited children, and we absolutely appreciate that. All right, but DeOrr was camping. He's a toddler, just a little bit over 2 years of age, and when he went up missing, and has never been seen for. And we'll get into some of the information tonight. There are so many theories, and there's been private investigators across that have worked this case. There's been 2 or 3 of them, and some of them are still working on it. Some were employed by the family and have since left the family due to suspicions and theories. And of course, law enforcement has looked at this case and still is looking at it for the fact that we have a child missing and has been missing for many years. And what does that mean, and where and how should we look at this, and how what steps should be taken? I haven't been contacted by the family on this case, but I do have a great interest in this case, and I will be traveling out there in let's see, what about it'd be just over 2 weeks, I think. We'll be heading out that way. I've got to work a cold case up in Indiana, and meet with a couple of families up there, and during Labor Day week, and then I'll be heading west, pick up Chris with the Mob Crew. If y'all don't know who Chris with Mob Crew is, absolutely check out his channel. I'm sure he's close to 80,000 subs, I think, now, and congrats on that. Or 70,000. It's up there anyway. He's got far larger audience than but I enjoy working with him, and I look forward to going out there, picking him up, and we're going to head on out and do some research on this first trip out to try to get not only bring some more awareness to the case, but also to get boots on the ground and see that area. Of course, you can research these cold cases, and there's a lot of information out there. You can go on Google Earth, you can see it, and get kind of an understanding of the terrain. But until your boots on the ground and you see all the possibilities and try to understand certain facts, and not just speculation, because everyone out there has an opinion about this case, and some people during these 8 years have built some pretty strong opinions. And so for me, as I start looking at this case, I'm going back to the very beginning and looking at it from what was the original 911 call. And we'll be approaching it from that, seeing, and when I travel out there to see the area and familiarize myself with it, and start checking off some of the possibilities. And it's just for my satisfaction. Of course, we're probably going to be getting all different types of comments and suggestions, which absolutely welcome them all. But I'm not going to get sidetracked or anything on my approach of how I will look at this case from the get-go and starting back at square one. And that's been the first day of this and acting as if almost I'm the first one to get there, and seeing what that terrain tells me, and what that environment out there um, could possibly have led to this child just simply disappearing from the face of the earth. And where could he be? And what were the circumstances that has led us to this after 8 years? Of course, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have released this age progressed photo of what DeOrr would look like at the age of 4 in 2017. Now, even after that and what we have now, I've got to go. I haven't found a age progression for this one currently of what he would now additional 6 years. But if y'all, like I said, if you have any information, absolutely make sure law enforcement has that. But the 2-year-old at that time disappeared July the 10th, 2015, while he was with his parents um, uh, and grandfather or great grandfather and a friend of the great grandfather. Um, they were the 4 adults, and there was a misunderstanding or separation of the parents, the friend, and the grandfather, and who was supposed to be watching DeOrr at any certain time during that confusion. And there's been a lot of stories of which way and who is responsible, and the speculation is out there of who's guilty of what and what possibilities they are. But like I said, we're going to take care of some of the natural of what nature can um, lead to as possible disappearances and what part it could play in. For the fact that, of course, yes, we would always look at the individuals that were there at the time, but we're talking about a child that went missing during daylight hours when there's 4 adults, all of them awake, mobile, able to put eyes on each other, and we have a missing child. And what was the time frame for that? And is it simply something of a child becoming lost in the wilderness? And possibly. Um, that's what led us to this, because there's certain aspects of it that confuses me for the fact I haven't been there yet. I've got to meet with some people out there and get some firsthand information and look at some of the natural threats that can lead to a child simply disappearing. And that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. But anyway, on that fateful day, Friday, July 10th, 2015, at 2:28 p.m., Jessica, who is DeOrr's mother, made a 911 call reporting the child missing. That they were up there camping, and they had been searching for the child for a short period, couldn't find the child, and they needed help. And of course, anytime you advise first responders that you have a missing child, of course, we come, we go. And that was the case on this. And so everyone that was available, I would assume in that region, responded, and they started a intensive search that went on for multiple days. But the search efforts, of course, always start at the ground zero of where was the child last seen. And they'll bring in resources from everything from just as many people as we can get boots on the ground as possible. And what are those first initial threats? And I've been there. That you have where you have to watch highways, roadways, because small children around those can absolutely um, receive certain, be put in danger if we have busy highways and roads and streets and things of that nature. That wasn't the case on this campground. So you didn't have to worry about a high traffic area or a lot of people being in that area. There were reports, I think, by the great grandfather that said that yes, um, that uh, there was someone fishing at the reservoir. Hasn't been, um, you know, you hear reports and speculation both ways. So there's always outside chance that it could be an abduction. But once again, we're going to look at what the natural threats are first, and then we'll progress as we look at this case in the coming days, weeks, months, whatever it takes as we look at it. But the campground was searched, and then we brought in, or they brought in, certain dive crews, and there's a reservoir. And my understanding is that when they brought in the canine resources, that those canines tracked to the reservoir on at least 2 occasions, and that reservoir is only a quarter mile away from this location. So you're looking, around 5 or 6 um, football fields, or around 5 football fields away. Um, and so, could a toddler be able to cover 5 football fields in just a few minutes? Absolutely. And get up there near a reservoir. And of course, we know the dangers of water. And that was in law enforcement, that after we try to seal off an area and make sure that the threats of roads and highways weren't a threat to a child, then we started looking for those water dangers. Was it a creek? Is it a river? Is it a lake? Is it a swimming pool? All those areas are absolutely high risk and danger areas for any child, especially at that age, for the abilities of, can they swim? Are their curiosity of water? Do they enjoy water? Will they put themselves in a dangerous environment, not realizing the threat? And absolutely, and I've witnessed it, of where small children have perished due to um, either going through an open gate and having access to a pool above ground, or even in ground pools. And like I said, from the first responder aspects of it, and we know that from this campground, which is named Timber Creek, and anything named Timber Creek has a creek, and then the reservoir. And so we have multiple dangers. We have moving water, which is even more of a threat than just stationary water. So, but anyway, the dive crews went in, and of course, the creek was searched again, and DeOrr was not found. Well, of course, dive teams will work multiple days and multiple times depending on clarity of the water. And when I was reading one of the articles, and um, and I'm extremely interested in that reservoir, and there's been has it been searched? Absolutely, dive teams went in there, but we have to look at, can things be missed by dive teams? I've worked, I don't know how many cases in my career, and spent, I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands of hours searching for victims in waters, and have recovered my share of victims from water. But it's not easy when you have low visibility. And one of the articles I read said, of course, the dive teams were in there, and they brought in some sonar robots, which I would imagine is probably some type of underwater submersible, um, uh, to drone type vehicles to search. And of course, using sonar, and some of the technologies that are available now probably weren't available as much, or weren't as advanced in 2015 as they are now. But we'll go up there and we're going to look at this, because the foggy water conditions. I never really had heard that term foggy water. I Our region, we use more of the term cloudy, um, you know, uh, things like that. But like I said, each region may have on clarity of water different verbiage they use, and they use foggy. And that was in that article. I don't know if that's a term that was used by law enforcement or just by whoever was writing that article. But while the dive teams are searching the waters, of course, we have horseback crews, and I'm sure there was crews searching by foot because the terrain there is extremely hazardous and steep in certain areas, and you have to be when we get there. There appears to be some rock slide areas in that vicinity. And of course, Chris and I will look at those also while we're there. Um, have us, the K9s and all the other crews been in there? Absolutely, I believe so. But as we always look at this stuff, we see case after case that a lot of times these victims are found um, um, weeks later, years later, in areas that have been searched multiple times. You can go throughout all these missing person reports, and you'll see that there it may simply be that there was a hole in the ground, a well, or a rock slide, or just a ravine or something that people had just walked by or didn't see from that angle. And often these victims, and then we have to look at even one that happened on the Kylie Rodney case uh, in that lake where a whole vehicle that she was, when she left the party, that it was searched and that vehicle was missed by dive teams and multiple dive teams and scuba divers and electronics and everything you can imagine that law enforcement and multiple agencies could bring to the table. And until that one private group of people um, that has some issues now, but the until they came, uh, wasn't discovered. And of course, uh, within hour or two of them putting themselves in the environment of what was most likely the biggest dangers and the closest danger to her, then they, of course, they found her within an hour or two of them deploying their equipment. Um, Not saying that when Chris and I get up there that this is what's going to happen, but we're going to look at this and see what technologies can we bring, and is it possible that um, that DeOrr is in these areas, and that's what we have to see. I have no idea currently of the vast unknown areas of that region, of the flow of that creek, the depth of that reservoir. I've seen, and I made measurements, of course, by width and length of the reservoir, but I don't know if there's deep spots in it, holes, as you'll see in certain reservoirs. So there's a lot of things that we want to go out there and look and spend some time out there, and that's what we're going to do. But anyway, they did 10 days of searches from this one article that I read, and that there were dozens of searches in the initial days. Now, there's been far more additional searches over the years. Law enforcement and some of the officers that were involved on day one have gone back and they do yearly searches and continue to search, which hats off to them. Absolutely is what it takes and needs to be done. And hopefully at some point it will pay off and that we do have a recovery. And but anyway, this is from Google Earth of the Stone Reservoir. You can see the Timber Creek campground, and it doesn't give full credit to the vastness of the area, the remoteness, the steep inclines, and all the threats that from that environment of how a child could become disoriented and continue walking, be lost. And not only in that, but this environment, what type of predators are within the region, and could a predator absolutely be the cause of this? Generally, with predator attacks and predation, there are evidence, remnants of an attack left at the scene, and those are quite often found, um, from shoes to clothing, things of that nature. That when a predator does attack, um, regardless if it's an adult or a child, generally you will have some type of supporting evidence of a predator attack. None of that has ever been found. Some of the clothing that he was wearing, of course, he has always been brought up that he had loose fitting boots that would fall off his feet. They haven't been found. And then his clothing, his jacket, and all the other stuff, none of that has been found. Um, of course, like I said, there's other people, and there's so many views, differing views of was he even there and all that. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and supporting evidence from the fact that two canines um, tracked a scent from the campground to the reservoir, which is supporting evidence he was there. And then, of course, we have 4 adults that say that he was there. 3 of the adults are related, and then we have 1 outsider that says yes, he was there on the 9th and the 10th, and so that's all supporting evidence. So I'm going to give it benefit of the doubt that he was there at the campground. But this is a little bit broader view of the terrain, and you can see that, of course, there's no major highway into the area. The closest populated area is DeOrr, Idaho. Small population, very remote area. Not a lot goes on there, and it's not a place whereas you would have someone that was going to abduct a child, that this is the place that they would go and saying, this is how I'm going to go and find me a child to abduct. It's a low risk area that you would do that. Is it possible that people can identify and see a child and possibly see them going on a camping trip and possibly follow? Absolutely. But we're going to look at the threats from nature before we start looking at people. To give you a little bit better understanding of where Timber Creek is, which is where the little red flag, and it's due west of Yellowstone. I brought up this mostly for the fact that I wanted to a lot of people understand where Yellowstone is, but they where Timber Creek is. And when I was doing my research about the bears, and I've been doing a lot of research about bears, of course, we have bears here in Georgia. We have a lot of bears in Georgia, but they're black bears. And our bears are far different than some of the bears I don't have to tell you about that are in Idaho and, of course, in Yellowstone. And but when I was looking at other threats, of course, we have the Idaho has wolves, and wolves can be from 70 to 120 pounds. And, of course, if anyone was attacked by a pack of wolves, there would be evidence. Expect not everything would be taken from a scene. And so we have to look at each of these threats. Is it a wolf pack? But the wolves are across the state. And I think less than 2,000 wolves are in the state of Idaho. Are they a threat to when we go out there? I don't personally think that will be. I'll be watchful of all predators, including wolves, but it's not a real big deal. Then, of course, you have mountain lions. And you can see from the map here where the green is that there's mountain lions just about everywhere in Idaho.
They're cute. You gonna bring me one home?
Oh yeah, I'll bring you one home. No, I'm not going to bring you one home, but yeah, they're cute. But like I said, they're throughout the region there. And the reason I was looking at all the different types of large predators is, of course, is it a threat to a small child? Um, Absolutely. Because mountain lions are a threat to full grown adults. Wouldn't think anything about a small child, but you would have evidence of such an attack. that if it did occur. And then we go to the bear situation. Um, Fortunately, as I was doing the research on this, I was looking up more for the fact of the grizzly threat. And are there grizzlies in Idaho? And the region that we're going to, yes, the due north 50, 60, 70 miles north of our location of where we're going to be, there are grizzlies. And then, of course, due east at Yellowstone, everybody knows about grizzlies there. So, could one wander through? Yes, but more than likely, all we're going to see uh, the the state Department of Natural Resources and has this area as mostly black bear, and of course, black bear. Eh, they're a lot different than the grizzly. They're a lot, like I said, I don't know if there's a state in the United States that doesn't have black bears other
They're
than
cute too.
yeah, other than Hawaii. But uh, all the other states, as far as I know, has black bear. Um, and will they be a nuisance in camp if we don't take and obey and follow certain guidelines? Possible. I know that it's been noted that uh, they're in that area, and if that's being the case, but still, as a predator, and was DeOrr possibly a victim of such an attack? We should have evidence of that, and some of it should have been found in the last 8 years if that was the case. But the elevation, and one of the biggest threats to any small child would be the elevation and the weather conditions, and how long could a child be able to fend for oneself out there in that environment. And the 10 days, you would not expect that it will have a happy ending, um, with all the threats from the water and also these predators. Um, but we're going to go out there. We're going to look at it. And when I was looking at the elevation map for that area of near the creek, it's 2,250 meters high, which is, almost a mile and a half there, mile and a quarter high. And so when we're out there camping, now if you go to Timber Creek Peak, it's a lot higher. But closest measurements I could see here to where around the creek, it's going to be somewhere around that 5,000 to 7,000 feet. And I hope that's a little bit higher than my where I'm at here in Georgia. It's a whole lot higher. So uh, I know Chris is more acclimated to that due to being from Utah. So I look forward to seeing how I'm able to handle that altitude. I don't
So
think it's
how
going.
fast does Chris run?
I don't know, but he's going to be running slower than me if there's a bear.
Yeah, bet.
Absolutely. But some of the temperatures, and I looked up for the weather conditions that were in the area on that date, July 10th, 2015, historical. During the days of, when he was first missing, 82, mid 80s, and the temperature at night was down to 41 degrees, which is pretty, cool. And of course, the almost an inch of rain prior to them getting up during that day. And was the waters running? What was the color of the water? And did that lead to those foggy water conditions? So anyway, like I said, there's a lot of things that we're going to be looking at when we go out there, and probably be out there somewhere um, first and second week of September. And just wanted to give y'all a brief update as we pack. And we've been packing for this trip, and I've been ordering equipment for it for, I don't know, probably a month now, if not longer. And we still got stuff coming in, and I'm looking forward to the trip, and hopefully we'll get some answers. All right, we got anything?
Yes, you do.
All right.
Let's see here. All right, we're going to start with some blue lights.
Excellent.
The first one is Kamala, donated 5 memberships tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate your support.
And Miss Brenda donated a membership tonight. Thank
Thank
y'all
y'all.
so much. Did my light work?
Yes.
Yes, it did. Okay, I missed it. All right. Then we have Miss Brandy Churchwell, member for 2 months.
Oh, good to see you, Brandy. I see you got your court cases going on. Thank you. Y'all check her out. Absolutely brilliant. And she has a great show.
Okay. Then we have Mitzi, member for 7 months.
Thank you, Mitzi. Appreciate your support.
That's a bunch.
It is.
That's amazing.
We have some great people.
It's amazing we've been doing this for 7 months.
It's absolutely humbling.
All right. And BG member for 2 months. 13th jurors represent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's part of Brandy's crew.
That's it.
Absolutely.
So
thank you
so much. Glad to have you.
Brandy has all the charts and all the 13.
She's the one. Oh, yeah. She's the one who did the charts. Oh, that chart. Oh, God bless her. All right. And from Peyton at True Crime Web, do you have any theories as of yet?
I've watched hours and hours of videos from a lot of different creators. I've read a lot of articles from Reddit to OWN, and just trying to familiarize myself with all the actors and all the theories and all the possibilities. And that's what takes me back, just like we see with these other cases, that so often it's everything from abduction to parents' involvement to all this other, to strangers and anything and everything. All these people have these theories of. Can one of them be right? Absolutely. But sometimes you just have to go back and start absolutely from square one. And that's what we're going to do. My theory is I'm going to play the numbers. And as we rule out these natural threats of that reservoir, until I understand fully everything about those water hazards, what does that creek look like? Where are those? Because in moving water, doing recovery from swift water and any type of moving waters, of where there's those collection points, those bends, those creeks, those down trees that act like fingers that gather anything that's in those areas and will hold them. Until we look at those and see and identify certain things about that moving water threat, and where would an innocent child that could fall in, where are those collection points? And until I'm there and not looking at it from Google Earth, I won't understand. Just like I won't understand that reservoir until I get there, because the 2 greatest threats to this child was that creek and that reservoir. That if he was able, and the creek was just, and I know they put people in that creek and they searched and searched and searched, but we still have to look at it for the fact that we've seen time and time again that these searchers, for whatever reason, it happens. We're human. Was the one person that was checking a certain area distracted for a moment, or just didn't see something, or there's anything and everything possible. And not saying that just my mere presence will answer that, because I've missed things in my career too. But I want to have that firsthand experience going out there and seeing what they faced, and trying to get an understanding of it. But no, I don't have any theories yet, other than I want to see those water threats firsthand.
Okay, we got some blue lights to get through. We got Miss Brenda.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for the super
sticker, $5. Appreciate that.
And Miss Kamala.
It says, if wildlife is involved, is clothing usually left? Blue light special, please.
Oh, okay. Move your
yes.
Head. Get your head out of my blue light. There we go.
Yes. And of course, anything that is oversized, because during when these animals that they just don't attack always, and it's just that one location, that they'll move that big one location to another. Articles of clothing can be dropped, can be pulled off, and then during the process of what animals, when they are predators, of clothing being torn, and parts of that clothing being left, that there is evidence of that. And so, yes, there's usually clothing found. Um, can it be a boot? Can it be a sock? Can it be underwear? Can it be a pair of pants, a legging, um, or shirts, caps? There's so much stuff that can be left at a scene of where a predator attacks. And all you have to do is go look at all these other cases of where they have found uh, skeletal remains, and they find clothing articles.
All right. And another blue light for Miss Bama
Bama Sin.
Sin.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And tonight we got to meet Bama Sin for supper, and we had a wonderful time. And I absolutely thank you. And it was great to meet you, and look forward to seeing you again.
All right. And let's go see what else I got. All right. And from Molly at True Crime Web, does the creek flow down from the reservoir, or is the creek something entirely different and not attached to the reservoir?
My understanding is, of course, from looking at it, that it is attached to the reservoir. And so I'll see what type of feeder creeks come into it, um, or what type of feed system is to that reservoir, and check with, all the information about it and the flow rate and all that, and try to find out as much about that creek area, and the depth, widths, and those collection points. But my understanding is right now, looking at the map and everything, it appears that it is connected to the reservoir.
Okay. All right. Oops. 37 Molly. Okay. And 63 clocks. Steve, what type of gear are you taking to Idaho?
Mrs. Steve did a blog on it yesterday. I've got everything from, they even got some more equipment in today. But we're going to carry some sonar equipment, some, of course, boating equipment, and then bear spray.
Lots of bear spray.
I get just 4 cans. And then, of course, some for our personal carry, and then some for camp. But then, of course, our camping equipment and things of that nature. Try to be as, spend as much time on the ground as we can in the area. Hopefully, we're able to get in there and camp reasonably safely. And if not, of course, we just have to have travel time. But we're going to go prepared to camp, and hopefully we are able to camp up there and spend numerous days trying to get a better understanding of the area.
And Debbie at True Crime Web, I seem to remember a pack of wolves being reintroduced into Yellowstone a few years back. So wolves can still be a possibility. Oh, that's not a question.
Yes, and that's like I said, I did some research on them, and there's somewhere, I think it was like 1,500.
Ruckus is in chat.
Hello, Ruckus. 1,500 to 2,000 wolves in the state of Idaho that they keep track of, and you know, could they be a threat to? They hunt in packs. They're a threat to anything. They can take down large herd animals, and they most certainly could take down a child.
Mm-hmm. What was that?
I don't know. That's probably some of our wolf pack upstairs
Yeah, no
running
kidding.
around.
All right. Blue light for mist.
This is a tough one. I am not sure it is a bear unless he was running, becoming prey. Yes, on black bears, there's, they're not of the same, uh, but they are opportunistic as far as that. If you do that prey and become that flight, and you put those instincts of making them a predator as far as that chase, and if you hit that instinct, yes, can they chase you down and become a predator? Absolutely. Was a small child possibly run from one? Yes, but you would think that you would have evidence of such a encounter due to clothing from the attack or otherwise. But I'm with you. The wildlife from the mountain lion to the bear to the wolves is due to that there's been no discovery of any type of clothing or bones or anything of the human nature uh, associated with DeOrr. I don't think so. But what type of threat could absolutely make a person disappear and not ever be seen or recovered? And those water environments are extremely high up on the list in my experience. And that's how come I'm going to focus a lot on those water threats.
Hmm. All right. Let's see here. Who was that? That was missed. I'm not gonna get rid of
Thank
it.
you for your support, Miss.
Yes, we appreciate that. All right. All right. We just did the pack of wolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is priceless. She's on the same brain thoughts I have. And Kamala at True Crime Web. Mr. Steve, you don't have to outrun the bear, just Chris.
Oh, yes. I've heard Mrs. Steve tell me to do everything from spray Chris to flavoring.
You know, whatever. I love him, but I
yeah,
need this one.
yeah. If it's a choice, she has Mr. Steve.
All
Sorry,
right.
Chris.
And this is a good one. And this is from Dave. Is Mrs. Steve going? No, I'm going to sit back at home and drink coffee and wait for the stories to start rolling in.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
going to be priceless.
Now, she's not really big into camping.
I don't camp. No, no. No. Do you want a question about the father?
Um,
DeOrr's father?
let me see what it says. Where is it?
Miranda.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Okay.
All right. And this is from Miranda at True Crime Web. Are you suspicious of the father? I ask because he left the camp to get, quote, better signal to call 911. But the mother was able to call 911 from the campsite.
Of course, in law enforcement circles, always family is something that will be looked at. And law enforcement will have absolutely looked at everything about that. And what was his signal, where was he at, and how good of signal, and what was the tracking and the data information on his phone and her phone, and it being intermittent. And because you can have phones, my phone and Mrs. Steve's phone can be. Well, actually, today we had.
Yeah, go ahead, tell him.
I lost my phone
What's
today.
up? He lost his phone.
Yeah, but
Who saved the day?
yes, from Find My Phone, and but anyway, through that data, and I know that the signal strength out there, and I'm going to get a little bit better understanding, although it is 8 years later, and of seeing what that signal and the understanding of that, because I'll do the same thing when I'm out there as what we did when we was up in Delphi. I'll have Mrs. Steve check some of that, find my phones, and we'll run some tests on that while we're in the area and see how close and what happens out there. But no, I'm at this point of it, I'm going to go with that. We're in the middle of the day, and child threats from parents when there's multiple adults awake in middle of the day. No, and where could he have gone? How long was he gone, and everything? No, he's not currently high. Now, that being said, at some point as we move forward, if certain information comes up, that may be different. But right now, no.
What, 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 what? Hold on. I had an email come in while I was trying to do this. Too many things going on at the same time. All right, here we go. Let's see here. We just did hers. And this here is from Mitzi. Mr. Steve, so thankful you guys are going out there. This case has bothered me for years. This precious little boy is just heartbreaking.
Absolutely. It is. It is. It's absolutely is heartbreaking. And it drives one, like I said, you know, we look at every case, it's almost a cycle of occur that it's easy to start blaming certain individuals and memories and stories, and are there changings of stories? Is people interpreting certain words, and what has changed, and what memories have come back, and what suggestions have been made, and people changing certain words that they use, and it's taken out of context, or they add a new context to it. There's so many things that when you look at these families, and from the earliest moments of that, their minds are clouded through fear of so many things, and you can't always instantly jump to conclusions about a simple statement. Um, it's easy to do that, but it's not always the right thing to do.
All right. And Mind of Monsters at True Crime Web. Do you have a Kevlar tent? LOL. Because that being bear country, I would need one.
No, I don't have one of Kevlar, but Mind of Monsters. I'm gonna be in Florida next week, and I'm gonna send you an email.
Frank's in chat.
Hello, Frank. Good to see you.
All right. So she's the lucky one that gets to live in Daytona?
Yes.
Jealous. Okay. And CJK, I've read the jacket the parents claim DeOrr was wearing was found afterwards at the apartment she moved out of. That's interesting. And they wouldn't take polys. Steve, your thoughts on not taking polys?
Like I said, there's a lot of different reasons. Some people are insulted by the suggestion of, and of course, if you ever talk to an attorney, they're going to say, don't take the polygraph, for the fact that you don't know from the emotions to of what that polygraph may show. And so I never really liked polygraphs. Did I ever have them administered to certain people? Yes. Did I agree with them when they gave me what I thought I wanted as far as deception? Yes, I liked it and tried to use it for that, but they're not always 100%. That's how come they can't be used in court. So some people absolutely swear by them. I'm not one that has all the greatest faith in the world on a simple polygraph being given to someone that is absolutely destroyed by the loss of a child. So, separating those emotions is something that might be possible and might not.
And Dog Defender, do you worry about your safety up there?
No, I worry about others, but myself, no. I'll be well prepared to take care of myself and others.
You gonna take care of Chris?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. And Miss Kamala, Mr. Steve, did you hear the parents say they stopped by a store and said truck driver said hi to the boy and Ellie impeached it?
Yes, and there's a lot. So a lot of people build a lot of theories on, did the truck driver remember? Did he not remember? what were the memories of. And like I said, the part about him being at the camp, I'm giving the supporting evidence to the K9s that tracked and to the grandfather, and because you'd have a conspiracy of three family members plus an outsider has other than being friends to the family, that this outsider says, yes, I saw DeOrr at camp. He was there on the 9th, on the 10th. And you generally don't bring outsiders in, witnesses to something that if you were being there for nefarious reasons and you had a plan, you generally don't bring additional witnesses outside the family into that environment. And so I believe he was at the camp currently. And because I'm approaching it from day one, taking everything at face value, and we'll have to see where it goes from there.
And this is priceless. I've got somebody saying they're Wonder Woman. They wonder where their phone and keys are every day.
Yeah.
He's the other half to that one because he does it all the time.
I had an extremely busy day. It wasn't my fault.
No, not at all.
I know whose fault it was. Ruckus. It was Ruckus's fault. I lost my phone today.
Yeah.
He's only 700 miles away.
Yeah. Blame it on him. All right. And the Ruby Raven. I love your name. Is bear spray like pepper spray? Does anyone know? We don't have that problem here, so I'm clueless.
Yes, it's all based upon the same principle.
Ick. Okay, and CJK, I'd like to know for certain how long after leaving the campsite did the parents return? And at any point did they meet up with their guest at the river?
And that's what I'm saying. I want to see, they talk about that the creek and the reservoir, of course, we know it's a quarter mile away on the reservoir, but the creek is, yards away. But it's out of sight because it's on a lower grade than where the campsite was. And that's what I want to see. I really want to see all that area and see what the distances are and understand what are the sounds of that creek, how fast is the water running, how loud is the winds, and if there's what all ambient noises that are there, the birds and things of that nature. Of course, we won't know what it was like on that one particular day, but when you sit there and you have boots on the ground and you look at it and you listen to nature, could you hear a child scream? Can you hear, and what would a child be able to hear from a parent that's yelling their name? How far? And those are things that we're going to answer out there because Chris and I will be running a lot of different types of tests out there.
Okay. Okay, and mist, by the way, using pine sol with a bit of water spraying on trash and bin finally worked keeping brown bear out of trash.
And I bought some bear containers today for both the food and or they came in today. I'd had them ordered for a while, but they came in today for both the food and the trash, trying to keep the bears unfed because we don't
want them hungry.
Well, we don't. We don't want to feed the bears because when you feed a bear, bad things happen to them.
Oh, they don't want to come home with you if you feed them?
Well, no, they have to destroy them.
Oh, that's not good. Okay. And Dog Defender at Mr. Steve, what are your thoughts about the missing toy cars that was found with parents? There was something else also that parents said was missing that was found in their possession.
And I understand that some of that may be you're addressing the jacket issue about the camouflage jacket and clothing articles and of that. And how many jackets can a child own that are similar? And is it possible? Yes. But once again, we know he, from my understanding, and like I said, I'm giving right now full benefit of the doubt that he was at the campsite. If that changes in the future, it changes in the future. but right now we have to start somewhere. And I'm going to go on the that we have this outside witness that was there that says, yes, I saw little DeOrr there at the campground. And and then we have the K9s that says, yes, we have a tracking scent of whatever article they used for that child, that it went to the reservoir. And so we're going to use that also as supporting evidence right now. Can that change? Absolutely. But there has to be evidence to make it change.
Okay. And will Chris or Steve be screaming? Steve doesn't scream, but he's a pretty good shot.
Yeah. But no, we'll probably, like I said, I've got my, since the phones won't be working, we got our two-way radios and things that we'll be taking with us as some of the other equipment that we'll be carrying, so that we can do those screams and do whistles. We're going to try, like I said, everything that we can imagine, trying to see and understand that environment, because there's so much to understand that, like I said, you can look at it from Google Earth, but, if you've ever been in doing any types of searches, certain parts of terrains, the trees, sometimes you can have echoes, sometimes not. It's strange what can happen to sound in Mother Nature, and canyons and things. And we just have to see what that environment offers Chris and I.
Lobo says, put your toothpaste in heat container too. They seem to like that.
I hadn't even thought about the toothpaste part of it.
You probably should. All right. And let's see here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No more questions for tonight.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. And like I said, I just want to give y'all a heads up, and as we get down to the short time frame of heading out west, and I appreciate all y'all's support. We appreciate everyone, our mods tonight. We everyone.
One more. And Miranda at True Crime Web, will you be watching anywhere else for remake?
Everything probably. I'm gonna look at as much of that terrain within 1 mile as I possibly can, for how many hours we spend out there. But pretty much, I'm going to try to figure out every vantage point and what obstacles. There's going to be certain areas that you wouldn't expect a child to be able to negotiate, and we just have to see. But yes, we'll be looking anywhere and everywhere that probably, of course, starting where our grid and our spiral from the reservoir to the creek to the campsite are our three main points of starting points, and we'll radiate out from that.
And Bama Sin, could you use some sat phones?
You can, but and we'll have certain communication set up, whereas we won't be out of in case we do have to have emergency services, but we'll have an understanding of that once we get out there.
All right, one more. Oh, Blue Light Dog Defender,
$4.99 super sticker. Thank you, Dog Defender. It means a lot to us.
We appreciate that. All right, y'all are the best. Go check out the blog for pictures of what he bought.
Oh yeah. I've owned some.
Priceless.
Yeah, we got some camping equipment and stuff. But anyway, guys, we want to thank y'all and appreciate all y'all's support. And hopefully we're going to put our best foot forward and try to understand that environment a little bit more, and try to understand what could have led to this mystery and to this tragedy of this small child being missing. And hopefully we'll have some answer in the near future. But we want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and y'all stay safe, take care, and we absolutely appreciate everything y'all do for this channel.
Love y'all. Thank you, mods. You gonna leave this picture up?
I'm gonna leave this one up. Hold on. That's one. There we go.
That one.
That one.
Thank y'all. Love you.